I was getting out of work at 9 o'clock in the morning like I do now, or 8:30 like I do now, going home, sleeping until 2 o'clock or 1:45, getting up, picking my daughter up from school, driving to a game, and not getting home until 9:30, 9:45 at night, eating something and going right back to work. And that was pretty much 5 days a week. So there was no time to meal prep. There was no time to do any type of activity except for try to walk a lot at work. And there was no time for real good sleep because it was 5 hours a day. That was it. And you do that and you wouldn't trade a second of it. But then you sit back and you go, wow, I'm not where I want to be shape-wise or health-wise, or, you put on a Fitbit and all, no matter how accurate or inaccurate it is, your resting heart rate's at 75, and you're like, that's not where it's supposed to be. And you have to make a change.
I am an everyday athlete.
I am an everyday athlete.
I am an everyday athlete.
If I said you don't want to wear a
Steelers stuff? Come on, man. Steelers stuff. We don't want to talk about that. We don't want to jinx them.
That's right.
All right.
I saw someone rated Blake Bortles, or they were talking about it today. I think it was like Chris Sims or something like that. Washington quarterback. Like he said, Blake Bortles is the 70th best quarterback in the league.
70th?
70th. He said he put his backup in front of him.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Well,
He's already 32 8.
yeah. It's like
Fun.
5 third stringers behind him.
It's funny. All right, ready to do this? All right. Let's do that again. There we go. Good morning, everyone. This is Jared Bass with Mark McCain, and you are listening to Everyday Athlete, a podcast devoted to bringing you the amazing stories behind the lives of day-to-day CrossFit athletes like yourself. And our wonderful guest today, I'm not even going to, I still haven't mastered your last name yet. It's Stan, and then I'm going to let you chime in.
It's Stan Pinkewicz.
There it is.
Pinkewicz.
There it is.
I'm almost there with that.
Almost there with that. Yeah.
90,
So
90%.
that's not a Northern Kentucky Cincinnati name. So where are you from, Stan?
So I'm from New Jersey. It's a Polish last name. It sounds exactly the way it's spelled.
I just can't phonetically
That's why,
say things.
that's why I said
But yeah, no, from New Jersey. Moved here 2.5 years ago.
2.5 years ago. You always lived and born and raised in New Jersey?
Yeah.
Which part of New Jersey?
So central New Jersey, right across the outer bridge from Staten Island.
Very
So-
cool. Very cool. So those who have been to New York give me a little bit of a idea of where you're from. Do you go to New York a lot? I mean, I know I'm sure it's like a lot of like stuff here where it's like, oh, you go down to the Kentucky Derby. It's like, I've been twice in my life, you know?
Yeah, New York City was about a 20-minute drive without traffic, which wasn't often, but if you caught it the right time of day, you can get in there 25 minutes to 30 minutes from where we lived. So, yeah, we went, 10 times a year. Then once Mary and I had kids, probably a little less than that.
Right.
But we would still try to get up there a couple weekends a year, go to Central Park. Or
Yeah. There's I lived there for, excuse me, a short stint of life after college, working for a food photographer there. But, I basically just walked the whole island of Manhattan. Pretty much was my, get to a little rough part, but I went through living in Park Slope, Brooklyn, and then moved up to Washington Heights. I think we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
That was a transition, to say the least.
it's a little different than here.
Yeah. And then I do remember driving a U-Haul through Manhattan, which was one of the scariest experiences of my life. And it's funny because we drive the trucks for Derek now, and the 16-foot U-Hauls really aren't anything, but like the time being like early 20s, I'm like on my own driving a U-Haul through New York City. One of the scariest things I've ever done.
And interestingly enough, when we moved out here, I drove a U-Haul with Mary behind me. It was me and the 90-pound German Shepherd in the passenger seat, and the scariest I've ever been driving was down the hills because
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
we
no,
don't have
no,
hills over
yeah.
there.
Right.
I was trying to think where, because you would come, Yeah, I mean, you definitely hit a couple hills along the way.
In West Virginia, there was a hill
Oh.
and there were some signs with trucks and take this exit now. And I'm like, am I a truck? Am I not a truck?
Yeah, when you start seeing like
Yeah.
emergency get off lanes
Yeah.
with all the sand, you're like,
Oh,
what, what
yeah.
is this?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
why would you ever use that? Oh, this is why.
And then you see like the gravel and sand that has like been dispersed when someone had to use it. Like that's
Yeah.
gonna be one of the scariest things ever.
Yeah, I looked at the dog looked at me and said, well, we're going to give it a try and see what happens.
That is crazy. That's crazy. So it's been 2.5 years.
Yeah.
What'd you move here for?
So I moved here for my job. I work for DHL. And obviously, a lot of people know that their biggest U.S. hub is here in northern Kentucky at the airport.
CVG.
Yep.
So I moved
Cincinnati
right here for
Airport in Kentucky.
Yeah.
The Cincinnati Airport in Kentucky. I wonder how many airports are like that. Like, this is the Ohio airport that's actually in a different state.
Mm.
that. Probably not too many.
Probably not too many. They've gone through quite a few changes out that way.
Yeah.
They've tore down Terminal C and
I think B also.
Man B, yeah. The C was cool because if you ever went over there, it was just like a big tunnel you walked through and you just literally walked directly onto your plane. But that was years ago. Anyway, so DHL, and then you just recently kind of came to us probably within the last, well, I don't know, what's it been?
Couple months, probably 3 months.
About 3 months, yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. What was the decision to kind of come find, or I guess how'd you find us?
So we had a membership to Crunch up over there by Home Depot.
Yep.
We never used it. I was on and again, off again with some people from work. Would go do pretty well for a month or so and just get bored. We were driving around one day and said to Mary, really want to get back into doing something. Kind of interestingly enough, just kind of yelped gyms in the area. This said it was open on a Sunday. We came in. Now we know who she is, but we met Kelsey, talked to her for about 15 minutes. Went home, looked up CrossFit and what it really was, and watched some videos.
So you
for a
found
while.
us before you found CrossFit.
Yeah,
That's cool.
I mean, I've heard of it, and
Yeah.
I heard all the negative things about it.
Right.
You're gonna get hurt, and
Right.
you're gonna be doing backflips and off the side of the wall, that type of
That's
stuff.
every other day, Stan.
Yeah, well.
I mean, come on.
And looked it up. Said to Mary, "Is this something you want to try?" And she said, "Yeah." And, I think Mark called me or I sent Mark an email. He called me the next day, and we talked, and that was it.
That's cool.
And it turns out Mary works with Lavetta, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that comes
Yeah.
here. One of our.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And what I think is pretty powerful about that is whenever you find two people, especially like a couple that are willing to do this together, it makes it so much stronger. And I think everybody who has seen you and Mary have known that you guys have pretty much been here almost consistently throughout the week. It's, as soon as you guys got done with those fundamentals classes. Not to mention, I think you may be one of the few people getting in that 50 and up range for the month of our January attendance challenge. So if you guys are listening and you aren't here, basically we paired up with another person in the gym, and the most attendance gets some free kettlebell kitchen meals. So they have basically, has it been every day?
We've been here every day, so
Yeah, we're the 11th, January 11th.
Yeah.
right now.
we're at 21 days.
21 days,
and
sure.
Mary will hopefully hit 22 when she gets home from work today. The idea had nothing to do. This was before the kettlebell kitchen thing. I don't want to get into a habit of knowing how easy it is not to come in. So I do believe
that.
in a 21-day habit forming
Yeah.
thing. So I'm gonna try to double that to make sure it's a double habit.
There you
If it makes
go.
any
I
sense.
love that. Yeah.
And then give my body some rest after that. So when we hit February,
So someone who's transitioning from a traditional gym over to something like CrossFit, because we've all been there and we can speak to it, but someone who's basically fresh off of it, what's the difference between something like insert Globo gym name and something like this? What's the biggest difference that makes it easier to come to, easier to be drawn in, easier to be a part of?
So for me, I have this feeling that if I don't show up, and even though I don't, know the people that well in the 9:30 class, but I have this feeling if I don't show up, I'm letting those folks down for whatever reason that is, right? That conversations that we have on a daily basis right now, I'm missing those conversations for that day, and it just makes it easier to say, okay, I got to go there because I know Judy's going to be there. I know this one's going to be there. I know that one's going to be there. And I got to make sure that I'm coming in to play my part of that 9:30 team and fill my role, whatever that role is. So
Yeah, and again, when you don't have accountability, it's really easy to just say, well, I'm not going to go, because I think that's the story for so many people, and that's why that's why I like these, just speaking of this challenge, if you have a buddy, it's like, hey, we've only got X amount of points and all of them are for me, because there has to be that accountability, because there's going to be days where you wake up and you're just going to say, wow, my bed's really warm, or I know you're basically coming off work and coming here, so even easier. I know we have a couple people like that, nurses and things like that are coming off a shift, and it'd be a lot easier just to go home, tuck yourself in bed, and say, see you in a little while.
There's a lot of truth and a lot of science that supports that habit forming, and you're definitely in the honeymoon phase of being here right now, and there's this like Yosemite Sam kind of dilemma, but I don't really see that with you. We've been doing this for quite a many years now, and I love that you engage with us more than just like, hey, how's your day going? Like, no, hey Mark, like, how do I get better at a front rack? How's my form look on this, that, and the other thing? And you really hopefully you get a lot of value out of that. And unfortunately, if you look at it on the opposite ends of the spectrum, when people finish up fundamentals and then they don't really make it a habit to get in here, one of our big things is when people will finish the fundamentals is like, hey, look, let's get us on your calendar. Like physically, I don't know if you write it down.
Yep. What's the first day you're coming in?
You gotta make it a habit, because then all of a sudden, like you said, if a week goes by and you don't come in, then it's a little bit easier to let another week come by and not come. Understanding that, hey, I'm going to be sore, whenever I start coming to the gym, but ultimately, if I can make it a habit, just like the sun coming up and the sun going down, I'm going to the gym on these days at this time, then like you've already are experiencing, like you just voiced, I have this sense of accountability to others, to my coaches, to my fellow gym members, and then that's when it really gets, there's some special sauce in there.
And I won't bore you with the details, but even like today, I said before we started the podcast here that I got here a little earlier because I got out of work earlier. I'm even to the point at home where it's the same habit when I get home, so I don't sit on the couch for 5 minutes and go, wow, this feels really good. I'm going to skip today and, we'll do it tomorrow, or, the day with the burpees, right? That would have been an easy day for me to skip because that is by far my least favorite thing so far. But it was come home, do my little routine, and make sure I get here. So if I'm 15 minutes early, I'm 15 minutes early. If I'm 2 minutes early, I'm 2 minutes early, but same routine.
I think it's the perfect time of year. We're looking at the beginning of 2018, and I'm big on just like constantly auditing like my life and performance and stuff like that. So I am trying to get, my schedule's not always set, but right now we haven't had a ton of people that are onboarding in the morning. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna come at 6:30, consistently, 3 days in a row, maybe take one off. So today would have been my third, or either way, second or third day in a row. But I kind of tweaked my bicep a little bit. So I was like, oh, there's a lot of push-ups and thrusters. It'd be easy to just like not go in and then just do something on my own later. But anyway, like to the habit forming sense, I'm like, well, I'm still gonna get up and go. And regardless, like if I gotta modify, which I did, I gotta modify, and that's fine. And at least I'm making it a habit to keep coming in. But kind of like you said, I'm the same way. Like I try to avoid the couch like the plague whenever I go home, because I know as soon as like it like swallows me up. Like if I sit down, then all of a sudden I won't even like get up to get a book or something like that. I'm locked in on TV or something like that. So it's one of those things as well. So I can understand that.
Absolutely. I want to take an early break, go in a different direction here. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about bringing your daughter in the fold and things like that, and where we're going from here. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Kelsey Blaze,
Mark McCain,
Jarrett Baston.
Derek Gidney.
Chris Lemel,
and I'm a coach.
and I am an owner and trainer here.
I am a coach.
I'm the head coach.
I'm one of the owners and trainers here at Triumph Strength and Conditioning.
I enjoy coaching because I like seeing people improve upon their fitness and do things they never thought they were capable of.
My favorite thing about coaching is helping people achieve their goals and ultimately build relationships.
By far, I think my favorite thing to coach is definitely the snatch. It's just one of the things that I've picked up along the way that I really enjoy seeing the technical side of things, combining the speed, the strength, and the agility all in one very fast and dynamic movement.
Things I like coaching the most are, I guess there's the higher technicality lifts, the snatch, clean and jerk, muscle ups, handstand push-ups. There's always just something that we can be tweaking or fixing on it.
I try to affect people by their volunteering or just kind of giving my talents outside of the gym to bring community closer, whether it's interacting with members outside of the gym in a fitness capacity or just as friends.
As coaches or as a coach, I like to help people enjoy life outside of the gym, enjoy the little things, and always focus on the positives instead of focusing on the negative.
Welcome back to Everyday Athlete. We're here with Stan
Pinkewicz.
He was queued up.
Which, see, that's why it's good to have on. He already gets it. Pinkewicz. What's your middle name, Stan?
I don't have one.
Oh,
What?
man!
No
All
middle
right.
name.
We're starting over.
Yeah.
We're starting over. That's crazy. I guess you don't really have to have one.
No middle
get
name,
like
but I
those-
am a junior, which is
You're a
interesting.
junior? So Pinkewicz is actually your middle name. Junior's your last name.
That's
Yeah,
it.
there it is.
Stan Junior. That's cool. Dad's name Stan?
Yeah.
All right. Very cool. So we left talking a little bit about Stan getting into basically a habit forming lifestyle coming here, really trying to hit. Is it going to be every day of the month of January?
Yes.
Is that the plan? Every
Yeah,
day of the
so-
month?
so-
And for those of you guys listening, Stan's not in here doing Fran every day. I don't want you to think that, like, because there has to be a rest period. There has to be something that when you come in, you're not just going full tilt redlining every single day. We all know, and Stan's short time here, I feel like you probably even know already that I can't just go hard every single day. Stan's come in on Sundays, and one of the first thing he's worked on was getting a front rack. Holding the bar right now, it's relatively flat with the elbows, so he's come in and said, hey, how do I get this better? And this is, again, one of the cool things that we like to see with our members is when they come in and really try and work on those weaknesses that are preventing them to get to the next level of whether it's fitness or mobility.
I've seen you hitting some ROM wads this week too.
Yeah,
That's
ROM-WODs
good.
after classes, and again, those are the pieces of the puzzle that a lot of people miss. They just want to jump right into getting the fastest time or whatever it is, regardless of the repercussions.
Or if you increase your volume, like you're doing basically with coming in every month, you don't fuel properly, or whatever it is, like stretch more and so on and so forth, and just understand that.
Well, Mark had a really good analogy of if you're taking a road trip and you're driving more, it's going to take more gas. You're going to have to put more gas in the car. Now, whether that's food, whether that's mobility, sleep. There's only so much time you have in the day, and having a third shift job and children, and it makes it really tough to fit all that in. So what I really like what Stan's been doing is coming in and working on those weaknesses and taking the time that I'm going to be here, but I might be here rolling out for an hour because we have the tools and the proper knowledge to basically point him in the right direction. So I really commend you for that, first off. So
Thank
I do want to talk a little bit about your daughter. So she's been a huge part already at the gym. So maybe speak a little bit upon that, and how that came about, or if it was just a naturally occurring thing.
So Charlotte's very active 7-year-old. So she was coming in with us, and she would mimic the movements over here by the bench, and just somehow, some way, it kind of, unfortunately or fortunately, turned into her kind of getting involved a little bit, and then she now knows and understands that Saturday's the day for her, and she is more than excited. Saturday mornings, up, ready to go. Some of the people around here know she's a big wrestling fan, so the first Saturday that she knew she can come in and do the workout, we woke her up about 7 o'clock in the morning, and she woke up with a Daniel Bryant yes, yes, yes chant. And
That's
right
awesome.
off the couch and getting dressed and ready to go. I'm like, no, you got 2 hours. And
Yeah,
yeah,
she's ready to go.
She was ready.
Well, that's really, really exciting. And one of the cool things that we've seen, honestly, with you guys is it's been a catalyst for what we've wanted to do for a while now, which is a kids program. We just never really knew how to implement it. And right now we're in the process of implementing, hopefully, something that turns into a kids program for people like your daughter's age. So it's really, really exciting for me to see full families working out together and building a healthy lifestyle. I think we're inundated pretty regularly with negative lifestyle choices, in the outside world. They may be touted as healthy lifestyle choices, but when you go out to eat and you make the wrong food decisions, it becomes a lot easier to continue to make those wrong food decisions. But it's really cool to see people in here together working out with their kids and making some really, really sweet decisions and really just building their family up. I mean, it's been pretty awesome to see. We had our first ever fit family class, and I know Mark was here. I was not here for it, but from the photo I saw, it was a giant madhouse of awesomeness.
Yeah.
What did you think of just everybody working out together?
So I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was very, very interesting to see. Everybody was a little nervous at first. Then we played a very fun game of musical chairs.
30-person men ball musical.
Yeah.
Which
musical balls.
I have an older daughter also who's 18, so I've went through the young child stage already. So standing from afar, looking from afar, I was a little nervous. I'm like, hopefully we don't get some adults that really want to win musical chairs here.
Right.
But it all turned out well. And
Stan kicked my kid.
it all turned out well. And then at the end, for the cool down, if you want to call it that, we played Duck, Duck, Goose. And the smiles on the kids' faces when they got to have their parents chase them around in a circle.
Yeah.
And then the smiles on the parents' faces was really, really good to see. So I think you had 30 people or whatever the number was of very happy parents and kids. Speaking of the choices before, that's one of the things with having kids is you do all these sports and you might coach them, and that's somewhat active, right? I mean,
Yeah.
a little bit. You maybe coach third base and swing your arm around to send them home every once in a while. But this is one of the few things where you're actually in there working with the kids and working out with them and getting a real workout. So you're putting that time in and you're getting something out of it. Because I can coach 3-4 games of softball on a Saturday and probably not come anywhere the calorie burn that I do in 45 minutes here.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
And there's something powerful in that too, right? I mean, for the relational, kid, and obviously the kid probably can't see that big picture kind of thing, but if that just becomes normalcy to them, they're like, oh, every Saturday, me and you, Dad, we're going to the gym, and mom's coming too, awesome, and then all of a sudden it's just like your thing. Like
well,
you said, that's
and
awesome.
too, we're in a society where there's a lot of just, all right, well, it's dinner time and everyone's just on their phone. It's like we're going to interact. We're going to have a good time doing it. And there's not a lot of places that you can do that anymore. And hopefully that's something that we can provide. And again, this is just a first step for us and hopefully a much larger kids program and hopefully something that we can build upon. We're very new to this. So the whole kids thing does make us a little weary because we're not used to it, but I'm really excited for it.
And hopefully, in turn, it gets parents like myself and Mary, and then some of the other parents that were there and had a good time. Start telling, Charlotte plays soccer, she plays basketball, karate. So, well, we talk to those other parents, obviously. So if we can spread the word and get families to come in, see it, and then hopefully it turns into a good business decision on that end where you get another couple folks in there.
That's always good. We're
It's
never
kind of a bonus.
Yeah, it's almost a bonus. And I think that exactly what Mark said. I mean, when we wrote down our core values, our number one is always going to be the community here. Everything we do is trying to base around the the moving forward of the community, you know, and sometimes they're not always, you know, the decisions aren't easily, you know, visible to everyone, but again, we're always trying to basically improve the dynamic here, improve the quality of people that come in, improve the basically the atmosphere here. So
well, it needs to be a diverse community. You know, it can't just be everyone around the same age and so on and so forth. So when you know, the first, you know, if you would have, you know, if you're like, hey, give one word to describe that class, I would just say fun. You know, and I think everyone needs a little more fun in their life. Sometimes it's so stressful and so on and so forth. But kids are just laughing. You can't help but laugh whenever you're seeing. You
Parents
know,
do burpees.
Kids try to. There was a little kid out there trying to do air squats, and he's just smiling. Like, I mean, they're, you know, if you wouldn't have used him for a technique video, but it was just he was just having a good time. He was trying his hardest, and you know, away you go. But yeah, when you look at, you know, communities and stuff like that, we don't want to be this exclusive, you know, place where, oh, I don't look like them, or I'm not around their age, you know, or they don't offer this or that. So it's just one of those things when we look at the big vision. And another thing that I would really like to try to get going here, hopefully in the not so distant, you know, future, would be like a 60+ program. So what does it look like for us to tap into maybe some of our members' parents, as far as like, you know, I volunteer on Thursdays with these guys that are in their 70s, and all we do is, you know, clean an auditorium. And by the time we're done, like, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll see you guys later. And they're both covered in sweat. Right. And all we've been doing is pushing a, you know, sweeper and bending down and picking up some trash a little bit here and there. And they've kind of inspired me to try to do something like that. And then the one guy's, you know, had some issues with a stroke and a pacemaker, and you know, he's only in his early 70s, and it's one of those things, if you can add 5 years onto someone's life and you have the opportunity to do that, why wouldn't you want to pursue that? So it's just really right now logistically trying to plan out a time for when that could happen. I was actually talking to him about it today, and you know, what a senior citizen schedule looks like and how that differs to, you know, our everyday member, and so on and so forth. But yeah, I think that's community, you know, and getting people in here of even, you know, different backgrounds, you know, ethnicities and so on and so forth. But
one thing I noticed with you, Stan, pretty much off the bat, was you're a pretty motivated and driven individual. What do you attribute that to? Anything in particular? I mean, because I know there's some people, it's like, well, it was my dad, or, you know, there was someone in your life, or is it just something that you just evolved into?
I guess something I evolved into. I think right now I've hit a period of my life that I have an older daughter in college. Again, I've committed a lot of time and energy into the kids and coaching kids in different sports, with, unfortunately, and again, fortunately for many reasons, because there was many great rewards in coaching the youth, kind of let myself never coach myself, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So I, you know, again, it was easy to go out there, coach 3-4 games of softball on a Saturday and say, hey, let's pick up 2 pizzas on the way home, and that would be dinner.
Because it's easy and you're exhausted. And I actually saw something the other day. Someone had recently just, you know, made a off-the-cuff post, and I saw it, and it was off-putting to me the first time I read it, but like after you say that, and after I thought about it a little bit, it actually made a lot of sense. And it was basically just how a lot of people neglect themselves, you know, in an effort to basically make their kids' life better, you know. And I see there's obviously how and why that happens, but at the same time, it's a really, I don't have children, but I imagine that's a very, very tough balance to try and find, to where you're trying to give as much as you possibly can to your family, to your children, but also not completely neglect, you know, yourself. Because the ultimate reality is, if you're not here, you can't provide for them anyways. You know. And I think maybe that's a little bit where you were going, to where it's like you know, you have to find some time to be able to take care of yourself.
That's exactly it. And I don't think I realized it until last year. I coached varsity softball over at Cooper High School with my older daughter. Lucky enough that the head coach asked me to join the team and help coach there. I was getting out of work at 9 o'clock in the morning like I do now, or 8:30 like I do now, going home, sleeping until 2 o'clock or 1:45, getting up, picking my daughter up from school, driving to a game, and not getting home until 9:30, 9:45 at night, eating something and going right back to work. And that was pretty much 5 days a week. So there was no time to meal prep. There was no time to do any type of activity except for try to walk a lot at work. And there was no time for real good sleep because it was 5 hours a day. That was it. And you do that and you wouldn't trade a second of it. But then you sit back and you go, wow, I'm not where I want to be shape-wise or health-wise, or, you put on a Fitbit and all, no matter how accurate or inaccurate it is, your resting heart rate's at 75, and you're like, that's not where it's supposed to be. And you have to make a change.
In that moment of your life, do you think anything that could have came in from, like if I found CrossFit, or, I got a trainer, with the time being, the most valuable thing, is there anything that you think could have subsided some of the stress or the sleep deprivation or anything like that?
I think at that time in my life, it was my daughter's senior year. She played competitive softball and some other sports, but competitive softball since she's 10 years old, and that was dedicating my free time to her senior year, no matter what it took.
Right.
I wasn't going to miss an inning. I wasn't going to miss a pitch. I wasn't going to miss a game. And so no, at that particular time, I don't think so. But in the back of my head that whole time, I said,
Right.
I got to do something here. I would play a decent amount of basketball throughout the years, and was able to go out there and still be productive when I would play in men's leagues or YMCA type pickup games. So I always thought I was somewhat still fit, somewhat. And then I came to the fundamentals, and I don't remember the exact workout.
Introduced you to burpees?
Yeah, I don't remember what the exact first day workout was, but I
Yeah.
looked at the whiteboard and I'm like, that's no big deal. And I was looking around here for a good place for a headstone. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that'd be a good spot. I mean,
There's a big hole in the back of the gym that we covered up.
It was.
Because I feel like there's so many people that is their reality. When we talk about auditing our lives and stuff like that, and I get it if you're like, hey, 1 year there's going to be some diminishing return to this investment in my daughter's life, but like I said, if your normalcy becomes every Saturday we go work out together, whatever it is, like that's like a big question for me personally that I wrestle with sometimes, like with our members, because I see some of them that'll come in 5 days a week and then I won't see them for 5 weeks, unfortunately. And I know they're not lazy, per se, but it's just that habitual, like, how do that mindset of, hey, I really, like, whether, like you're doing right now with the ROM-wise, you might not see it every day, but these small little crumbs of flexibility are building in, and then all of a sudden, boom, I got a front rack.
Right.
Oh, and it just, it's really hard to see that, like Mark said, here to here, you don't see, but a year later to here is a huge difference. It's just being patient. Patience is not a trait that a lot of people have anymore.
I think you have to celebrate the small successes, whatever they are, and I think you have to acknowledge those small successes. I was, through the roof yesterday, and it's nothing special. I was the last on the whiteboard, which I personally don't care about the whiteboard in a good way, right? I don't look at it and go, oh man, why wasn't I up there with Aaron, Chris, Jared, whatever.
I don't work out anymore.
Yeah. Yesterday I was able to do body weight dips and on the Matador, and I was able to do whatever, five sets of 3, and the last set might not have been too pretty, but it was, again, from where I was at fundamentals to 3 months later, I was happy as I could be over doing that.
That is absolutely huge, and again, realizing that this is a long road, and we are playing the long game. We are in a long game business, because that has to be the mentality that comes in when you walk through the door, because it's just not, and know that, the longer that you put off things like sleep and nutrition, the longer it's going to take.
It's all about perspective, and like you said, the perspective of this is where I started, this is where I am, And the whiteboard sometimes, it's good, and it's good to have that, information available and so on and so forth. You can see all that, but it's not the law, every day and so on and so forth. So like I said, sometimes you have to scale workouts. Sometimes you're going to have to maybe take a day off. Not this month, Stan, but but when you're coming in consistently, it's just, the one thing, we did a workout last week, and there was a newer gentleman working out, and it was a 5-rounder, and I know my body. So it's just like, if you go on smooth throughout the 5 rounds, like, I knew that's kind of how it had to go. And then he's probably even more fit than I am, which isn't saying much, but he came out like a bat out of hell. And then all of a sudden, like, I caught him. He's like, how'd you do that? It's like, well, you'll learn this over the years. Yep. It's like one of those things I can't, like, tell you, like, all right, man, hey, you're going to start at about 70%. It's like, well, what's 70%? And it's just like with nutrition. Sometimes people like, all right, I'm eating strict paleo. It's like, ooh, that's going to get old fast.
Yeah.
Like, you need to start maybe like 70% paleo. Well, what the hell does that mean? Well, I don't know, but you got to kind of figure it out for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to give you the keys,
yeah,
but you still got to know how to drive.
Yeah, unfortunately, people look at that and they're, well, you know what you're talking about. I'm like, there's stuff that you're going to have to figure out on your own, because there's, there's someone who came about where, the high temp bumper plates, it's like, drop it and try and catch it on the bounce.
Oh, jeez.
Don't do that.
That was in the
don't do that.
Every second counts.
Yep. Bounced up and broke his thumb.
Ooh.
I was like, I don't know how many times I can tell you to not do that, but you can't do that. Yeah. So same to the, it's a very extreme example, but kind of like the iron's hot type of thing. Don't touch it. Oh, you touched it. Now you know not to touch it.
One of the best quotes I heard recently, I don't want to mess it up, I was trying to think, is basically you don't lose, you learn kind of scenario. So and then it's having that perspective of, because we're all gonna, for the lack of a better phrase, we're gonna get our ass handed to us by our workout. Mm-hmm. And it's not that demoralizing, like, oh, what like that panic sets in where you're, when the open inevitably comes and you have that one workout where you're like, ugh, it's just like, all right, well, what's the lesson? Last year for me, it's like, dude, you're just not good at handstand push-ups. Like, you did your best, move on, get over it. It's like, I did my best. Everything you got. But complaining is going to get you nowhere. Mm-hmm. And self-deprecation, feeling sorry for yourself. No one, we care, Stan. No one cares. Yeah. As far as like, oh, I didn't RX that workout. Like, okay, well,
you're going to get new cars.
It's usually binary. It's like, you either move on or you don't. Yeah. And if you don't, then it's just you're just going backwards.
And then also it's just like you said, perspective. It's like you're going to go get into a car that you own. You're going to go to a job, house, into a family that loves you.
First world problems.
It's one of the biggest first world problems. Like, oh man, I really suck at pistols. I sucked in that pistol workout. I'm gonna let it bug me for the whole week.
But whenever you started a year ago, you couldn't do an air squat.
I was gonna say, I wish I knew if I sucked at pistols or not, because I have no idea.
Well, it's just 100% about perspective. We've been jabbering. I do want to ask, like, what's the big goal for? I think maybe for the whole family. Like, I know there's a reason. Like, there's an underlying goal that I think we can kind of state right now. But is there like a number? Is there maybe a weight number? Maybe a weight on the bar? Is there like a goal that's in the back of your mind that's kind of been rumbling around?
So comes off as a little bit conceited, but it's not meant that way. Growing up and into my mid-20s, I was extremely in extremely good shape in the fact that clearly I'm a little taller than most people, and just naturally a little bit bigger and stronger, and that again sounds conceited, but
more handsome.
Yeah, we'll stop there.
Okay, all right.
But I want to get back to being an athlete in some form, right? I think I said to Mark in fundamentals, I want to be able to dunk something on that goal that's behind us, right? I don't care if it's a golf ball, I don't care if it's a basketball. I want to dunk something again, because I haven't dunked a basketball since I'm 24, 25, right? And I want to be able to do that at 40.
That's
So
one of the coolest goals we've ever had on here. I like that.
Yeah, so it's just being an athlete again, and I get it. I'll never be 18 again. I understand that part of it, but I want to be able to go out there and do whatever the kids are doing and be that dad now that can go and do something that the other dads can't do, and not because I want to be better, just because I want to be better, if that makes any sense, and hopefully it does.
And it's not conceited. That's part of you. You have humility, so anything that you say, it's gonna, in your mind, sound conceited. Because I think we see that a lot, and that's a really good trait to have. But
Absolutely.
there's nothing wrong with having a goal. I mean, if any goal that's gonna be about yourself, will come off as conceited. I mean, the same thing for myself, for Mark. It's gonna be like, well, I don't like to talk about myself, but you have to have a goal that's driving you. I have a current weightlifting goal, and I've got 11 weeks, so it's like for the next 11 weeks, kind of like what you're talking about with your daughter's softball. It's like there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be put on hold for me personally, so that I can maybe see this goal through to my best ability. Right. But I think that the important thing is it's timely and that it has an end date. That's one of the things that becomes troublesome, is when I have a goal but you don't set a time to it.
Well, I think too, it's just constructively building your system, schedule, whatever you want to call it, to reach that goal, and understanding that there's going to be pitfalls. We're reading a book right now that speaks to whirlwinds. Basically take up 80% of your day. Perfect example is like email, phone calls, conversations. Sometimes if I'm working towards the goal of, let's just use the dunking example, but I don't come to the gym. Right. What are we really doing here? So on and so forth. So it's one thing to make statements, and it's like the classic like politician, right? Like, well, I'm gonna run and I'm gonna bring change to this, and this, and then once you get elected, you don't do anything about it. And obviously there's some circumstances there. We won't get into politics, right? But if you're chasing something in your life, does your actions reflect it, or are you just running your mouth? And that's not any
put up or shut up.
But it's true. But so many people though, like, I saw this thing where the number one New Year's resolution this year for the majority of people is to be a better person, and it's laughable. That's the proper response. And wherever we come to society, it's like, I want to be a better person. But man, Stan dunking a basketball, I mean, come on. It's like that's unfortunately how people are.
Broad too.
But I'll tell you right now, when I was fortunate to do a lot of Stan's fundamentals and get to know him, and dude's an athlete. Like I 100% like, oh, you just want to dunk with one hand? Like, we can get you two. Whenever he picked up a basketball, started shooting and stuff, I was like, wow, this guy's, he's got some game. So that's 100%. But I didn't need to see him shoot a basketball to understand like he can achieve a goal. Just listen to, like if you're listening to the podcast, the guy's got some stick to it. So, but anyway, yeah. Go for it, Jarrett. You got another question?
Speaking of, if you guys, for a while, Mark was going 30 for 30, right? Yeah. That was the goal. And he got pretty far. Yeah. And then I saw Derek.
20. I was 29 for 29 and missed the 30th.
And then I saw Derek Case out there, and he's just.
Yeah, he's got game.
And I was like, how did you just do? And he's like, I don't know, like 43. I was like, what's the most you've ever done in a row? He's like, 88. It's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It's insane.
Again, it's perspective, though.
I think those numbers are probably off, but it was very high. It was I'm pretty sure it was in the 80s.
Well, I'm pretty sure, again, you talk about greatness, and again, I'll be wrong, but I want to say Larry Bird, every time before he would leave the gym, had to make so many foul shots in a row. Right. And I want to say it wasn't like 10. It was 20 or up. Yeah. It's like, I got to make, before I can leave, like, the gym, I have to make this many in a row.
That comes back to sacrifice.
Yeah.
What are you willing to give up? It's a, when the fork in the road comes, you have your, you can go the easy route, you can go the harder route, but it also comes with a price tag. Again, you throw children in the mix, when you throw, family in the mix, that fork in the road becomes a little more complicated. It's just not one or the other. So Stan, you talked quite a bit about coaching. So what all have you coached in because you've seen a lot of, from what it sounds like, a lot of softball. Is it mostly softball?
So yeah, my brothers I got two brothers that are 10 and 11 years younger than me. So I kind of started coaching right after my playing career, whatever that was, ended, and started coaching them. Had the opportunity to coach them in baseball and football. Had the opportunity to coach a couple players. The biggest one is Eric LeGrand, the Rutgers player that got paralyzed. So I got to coach him in baseball and football. One of my favorite stories with him. So he was a much better football player. He would have went pro if he didn't get hurt.
He's super inspirational, by the way. Like now,
yeah,
he's very positive for his situation.
So, and Mark, I know you played baseball, so you'll probably get a kick out of this. So first time they're playing on the big field when they're 13, I said to all the kids, I said, okay, we're gonna all hit one pitch and we're gonna run to third base because nobody's gonna hit the ball over the fence, nobody's gonna come anywhere close, and we're gonna see what the difference is in distance. So throw it to first kid, he hits a little dribbler and runs to third, so on and so forth. We get to Eric Fields 325, and he put it about 370. I said,
wow.
Well, everybody but Eric is going to learn how to run to third base.
Man.
But yeah, so started coaching with them, and then continued coaching some high school wood bat leagues throughout New Jersey, and then as I became a dad and my older daughter started playing, coached basketball, coached softball with her, and then ran a Pop Warner football and cheer league for a little while that she cheered in. I didn't get into the cheerleading coaching, Mary did, but I tried to stay active in the in the sport with her as best as I could. And then now with Charlotte, a little bit of soccer, which I will stay at the low levels of, just because I don't know.
You don't want a piece of those parents.
Yeah,
they're probably the top notch of like worst parents to have your kids coaching.
Yeah, I could see that from the sidelines already. So I'll stay on the lower levels with the soccer just because I don't know much about the sport, so I don't want to be out there and steer the kids the wrong way. Let the parents that do know. I'd be more than happy to help out, but more on a assistant level. And so yeah, that's where we're at. Like I said, coached high school with my older daughter, and so mostly baseball, softball.
What do you I think they're seeing that many young children and how influenced they can be. How is that kind of? I feel like it'd probably make it easier to parent. I don't know, maybe just in general. Just you have so many different personalities, so many different.
Yeah, to that point, one of my questions I would definitely ask. Do you see with those teams? I'm sure you coach some pretty good teams, some high level athletes. It sounds like. Is there just do you pick captains, or is there like a natural leader? You know what I mean? Like, and is that what's the through line to like a good team? Like good team, and maybe you had some average teams or whatever. But is there a through line that makes just a good group of people, guys, girls, come together?
So I think two things. I think captains pick themselves, and that might sound cliche, but I think captains pick themselves.
That's kind of how we did in school. So
yeah, I think kids just naturally are leaders. Some kids, and I think the other part of making a good team is softball was probably what I coached the highest level of. I think if you're going to put a good team out there, you have to be willing to sacrifice for your teammates. So whether that means moving a runner along by hitting the ball to the right side when there's a runner on second and no outs, in a what is going to be a pitcher's duel, that's what you need to do. And if you don't have kids that are willing to do that, or at the youth level, if you don't have parents that are willing to let their kids do that, so when little Billy or Bobby or whoever driving home, mom and dad aren't yelling at them, hey, why didn't you try to go deep on that?
Right.
When it was an outside pitch and he did the right thing or she did the right thing. I think that's the biggest key to having a good team.
Basically, becoming a team.
Yeah, it's becoming a team.
The key to a good team is becoming a good team.
And getting the parents on board with becoming a team.
Yeah, that's probably one of the hardest things when you have, because again, the higher level you go. I remember going into a AAA or even maybe Premier League style of soccer, and it was like, well, we're paying this much money, and you know, you're only getting this much time to play. And I mean, I understand that from the financial aspect of it, but you know, when you're on a team and the purpose of that team is to win, you know, you have to be able to play your role. You know, a lot of people don't understand like what that role might be.
And in soccer, everybody can't score a goal every game, right? Somebody has to play defense. Somebody has to pass the ball or whatever it is. Same thing in softball, right? Everybody can't be the number 4 hitter. Somebody's got to bat 8th. Somebody's got to bat 9th, and they have a job to do too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's vital, you know, to be that cohesive unit as a good team. And I think like you said it perfectly. There's just natural leaders that emerge, but I think that has to happen though. You know, you have to have and that positivity through and through. Because you know, in my experience, I remember I was playing summer baseball one year. Long story short, I was decent, and I was definitely good enough to start the second game of a doubleheader. And we drove probably about 3 hours to this game, and I wasn't on the lineup card for the second game, and my dad said, "Get your stuff, we're going." And then that was my last game for that team. And in hindsight, like, those guys were my friends, and like looking back on it as an adult, I'm like, man, I kind of can't help but feel like I let them down, and like, but you know, my dad was very convinced that was the right thing to do, and who knows, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but looking back on it, I would like to stay. But you know, maybe a conversation between the coach and my dad is what needed to happen. But anyway, that's maybe an extreme example, but sometimes that happens.
It isn't. I mean, it's you know, you can go to a lot of different directions, but I think again, communication is going to be key. You know, if you can convey to the parents that like, this is the goal of the team. You know, I'm sorry if Tom, you know, Dick or Sally don't play because, you know, or they have a specific role that game. You know, I think, you know, the younger you are, it becomes like, you know, everyone's going to play. But as you progress, especially into the, you know, the teenage years, like that goal of the team is to win. You know, and we talk about it here a lot. Like, there's just genetic talent, there's genetic ability, and there's also kids that are going to work hard. You know, I think Mark, you can speak to that with some kids that you coach. You know, it's like just what putting serious hard work can do. But at the same time, knowing that you have some genetic limitations. You know, like I know as a CrossFitter and a weightlifter, like I have genetic limitations, and I'm okay with that. You know, but it takes a little while to start to finally understand that. You know, I think, and I get it. Everyone's going to have, their child is going to be the star of their show, but when you bring hundreds upon thousands upon millions of other children that are out there, you know, it's really tough to just kind of throw them in the mix like that. So,
and I think to bring it back to CrossFit to a point, I think even as somebody new to it or newer to it, I think that's something that I had to realize. You know, in the first couple weeks when I would come here after fundamentals, Derek or Mark or you know, whoever's teaching the class would knees back, butt down, back up, chest up. And there was times at the very beginning where I'm like, I'm great. I don't know what they're talking about, right? And
these are idiots.
Yeah. But then you have to take that step back and say, clearly it's me, it's not them.
Right.
And you know, I think that's hard for people. And it was hard for me a couple times.
We're trying to kick you out, Stan. We're trying to maybe we're going to break it.
But it was hard sometimes to understand that, you know, hey, you're doing something wrong and you need to fix it, otherwise you're going to hurt yourself.
And also, you're learning a new body language. That's the biggest thing as adults when we get people in here who've never done it before. Like you're literally, it's like trying to learn Spanish right now. Like you are learning a new language. If you've played basketball your whole life and then you just introduce weightlifting, it's not the same. You know, you can have some body awareness, but like how to engage your hamstrings. You don't engage a whole lot of hamstrings playing basketball.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
Well, I know, just, you know, to that point, like that's one of the biggest things I personally need to work on is like receiving critical feedback. You know, and that's just like a job with me and Jared here, and when we have some of our conversations, it's like it's tough for me to do that, or in a relationship or whatever it is. It's like, well, you're not doing this right. It's like you just
know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Like, what do you mean I'm perfect? No. Like, and that's just having that humility and having that self-awareness to where, like, you know what, you do have some spinach in your teeth. Like, oh yeah, there it is. You know, it's tough to look in the mirror, you know, when we don't have any mirrors here to be able to see. Like, you just got to kind of trust us and be like, yeah, you know what? My knees are hurting a little bit or whatever it is, and understanding that.
I do want to close things out here, but ask our Stan, you've listened to a couple of these, so maybe you've thought about this, but your definition of the word fitness, what does that mean to you?
So I have listened to a couple, and I think it's a tough question. I think my definition of fitness is just being able to participate in life, being able to go out and do whatever it is that you want to do. I mean, I got to a point, unfortunately, where I hit a weight that cutting the grass was not fun, right? Getting off the couch after cutting the grass on a Sunday and knowing, damn, I got to take the garbage out now, and this is going to hurt, is not where I ever want to be again. So I think fitness is as simple as saying, I got to take the garbage out and cut the grass, not a big deal, to going way past that and then going back to dunking something on that rim back there. So I think it's a broad spectrum.
I can't wait for the day we
You're
come in
gonna
and
like
that thing's on the
Shaquille O'Neal
ground.
that thing. Just
I
gonna walk
give
in, Stan's gonna be like, guys, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
If you dunk that, I give you permission to tear it down.
Yeah, I
we'll
owe
get
you
another
that.
one.
It's gonna be
That's
like
fine.
Shaq at LSU. Just
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for listening to Everyday Athlete, and join us next week as we dive deep in the lives of those who make us great. Thanks, Dan.
thank you.